Welcome to the afternoon session of the Landmarks Preservation Commission's public hearing and public meeting of June 25th, 2024. We are resuming this afternoon with public hearing item number 6. We have 2 final items to complete today. And I will note that we do not have a quorum present in the hearing room, so we will not be able to act on the next 2 applications, but we will hear the presentation and hear the public testimony, ask questions, and we can give our comments, and we'll have to bring these 2 items back for a vote on another day. So with that, I will turn it over to Corey Harala, our Director of Preservation.
Thank you, Sarah. Resuming with public hearing item number 6, that's LPC 24-01096, an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the borough of Brooklyn, block 444, lot 1, 345 Hoyt Street in the Carroll Gardens Historic District. This is a store and residence built in 1883 with a garage likely built in the early 20th century. The application is to alter the facades and areaway, install an oriel window, create new window openings, alter the garage building, and install a fence and trash enclosure. Applicant on Zoom.
Hey, Commissioners. The applicant has entered the hearing via Zoom. Arturo, I'm going to give you control of the presentation. Just bear with me. When you see it, click on your screen, and then you can advance the slides using your arrow keys or your mouse.
Okay. Okay, so can you all hear me? I'm assuming you can, yes?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Arturo Bárcenas. I'm a partner at NV Design Architecture, and I'm here representing the owners at 345 Hoyt Street, which is located at the eastern end of the Carroll Garden Historic District at the corner of Hoyt and Carroll Street. Yeah, so the corner townhouse was built in 1883. And as this picture shows, there used to be a corner store at the ground level with 2 large storefront windows. Since then, this has been converted into a single-family house with no commercial use. Behind the townhouse, there is a rear yard and a detached car garage that was also built in the early 1900s and can be accessed through Carroll Street. What's important to point out in this historic map is that the house shows an unspecified build-out in the 1915 and 38 maps that suggest that at some points it used to be a projecting element, such an oriel window that was at some point removed after that. So here is the front view of the entire block between President and Carroll Street. Our townhouse shares the block with 9 other townhouses, and it acts as the visual termination to the south, which is right here. The facade is slightly more modest than the rest of the townhouses in that it doesn't have a stoop, and it doesn't have a rusticated base or the entry is at the street level as opposed to all the other ones. And the entry lacks all the decorative elements around it. So these are the existing conditions. The old storefront has been removed and new windows have been added to the secondary, and the secondary entry door has been added to the street level. There is also a new areaway that wraps around the whole corner and the length of the townhouse. And towards the back, there is the garage, the badly deteriorating conditions of the garage wall. So it is this garage area that is the main element of our proposed scope of work. We are proposing all other changes to the townhouse also, which will bring additional functionality to the house and the garage too. So we're hoping that this would make the townhouse more attuned to its neighbors in the block and in the historic district. So to simplify the review, I'm proposing organize the presentation in different groups to focus on smaller parts of the proposal at a time. So I'll be talking about changes to the Hoyt Street facade, the Carroll Street facade, the garage wall and its roof above, and also to the areaway. So existing and proposed elevations of Hoyt Street. So here we're showing the proposed elements to the enframement of the entry door, the already approved band cords that extend the entire width of the facade, but with the additional bevel detail that we're proposing on top, as well as you see from the side, the bay window that will be on the Carroll Street side and the new areaway fencing. So as I mentioned earlier, this townhouse is the only one in the block with no detail around the entry door, an element which is typical of townhouses. So we are proposing a new brownstone enframement to give the facade that important element that is lacking. And as you can see on the right, those are just some precedents that in which we base our proposed design. And we're also proposing a modification of the already LPC approved band cords that runs that width of the front facade. The band cords will receive a bevel that on top that is very similar to other conditions in the neighborhood. And you can see here at the bottom. And now these are the proposed and existing and proposed elevations at Carroll Street. So at the townhouse, we are proposing new openings to bring in more light into the interior, but like I said earlier, to make it also a more cohesive facade. So we are proposing to change the entry door into a window right here. We're proposing new windows in the levels above that align to the existing windows at street level, a new bay window, and so behind the townhouse, we're also proposing, like I mentioned, the reconstruction of the new garage wall with 3 new garage doors, a new roof deck on top that will be lowered for to minimize visibility across the street, and also the installation of new garbage enclosure and a planter at sidewalk level in that area between the garage wall and the townhouse. Okay, so this is our proposed oriel window, which is based on precedents located within very close proximity of our townhouse. These oriel windows are located in other townhouse corners. And so our proposal will similarly be located in a corner townhouse on a side facade and will reinforce this typology in the district. These are some proposed solid void diagrams, and which you see on the left, you see the percentage of wall to windows that we're proposing and how similar it is to other corner conditions within the district. This one being across the street at the bottom right, and the one on top being at the opposite end of the block on Hoyt and President. So looking at the garage wall more specifically, we are proposing the reconstruction of the new brick wall with the 3 garage doors. The height will be maintained, but we're bringing back the step parapet wall that was visible in the historic photographs. The car garage will remain in the back, but the roof deck will be built on top, and it will be lower to minimize visibility, as I mentioned earlier. Also, the area between the garage wall and the townhouse will be slightly lower, and as I mentioned earlier, we received a garbage enclosure in front. Okay, so the picture on the top left shows a portion of the garage from 1940 with that step parapet that we are trying to recreate. And on the top right is the existing condition of the deteriorating CMU and brick wall. At the bottom, these are just some precedents of altered garages with roof decks on top, which are located in the neighborhood. Okay, these are sections showing the relationship between the new roof deck and the parapet wall. By code, we are required to have a 42-inch high guardrail. So at the central part of the garage wall, this will match the same height as the parapet. And at the eastern side of it, it will be the handrail will be about 12 inches higher than the parapet, so it will be minimally visible from across the street. Okay, and these are just the garbage bin enclosure proposed elevation and section. It will be made out of metal, perforated panels, and a dark, a lighter shade of black. This is just the relationship of the section of the roof deck and the garage below to the rear yard and the existing townhouse. Okay, so this is the rendering showing most of our proposed changes. So we have the reconstructed garage brick wall with the new wood doors, the roof deck above, the garbage bin enclosure that are over here behind that tree. And on the townhouse, we have the new oriel window, the enframement, the band that's already been approved, but will receive the bevel detail above, as well as the new windows in the second and third floors of the Carroll Street facade. Two additional renderings showing the proposed changes in elevation, but also the colors and material palette that we are proposing and that we will be working with our staff person to get approved. And lastly, this is the areaway changes that we're proposing. So there will be a new slate herringbone pavers as well as a new planter and a new fence that it's about 3 feet in the front, but 4-6 at the back on Carroll Street as the sidewalk slopes down about 18 inches. So we want to keep the railing height constant, and the brownstone stucco base will have a step somewhere in the middle. And these are just some precedents of similar conditions where with 5 feet high fences or more in the area, and also how some of these have remain a constant height while the sidewalk slopes similar to our condition. And this is the end of my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions or receive any of your comments.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions? Not seeing any questions in the room. I'll ask Gregory Kala to begin taking public testimony.
Thank you, Corey.
Okay.
We have one speaker signed up to present in person for this item, that being Jeremy Woodoff from the Victorian Society in New York. Jeremy Woodoff.
Good afternoon, Jeremy Woodoff again for the Victorian Society, New York. We are pleased to support this application. The minor work on the front facade will allow it to continue to recall the historic and possibly original presence of a storefront at the ground floor. Adding a bit of simple trim to the entrance is reasonable now that the building is fully residential. The proposed new windows at the side facade will match others and have a pleasing and regular arrangement, all consistent with the building's style. The oriel is a lovely addition, very typical of corner buildings of this age and style. Traditional oriels enliven building facades and add interest to streetscapes. If the details are carefully executed, we see only positives in adding this one. The garage on Carroll Street in its present form detracts from the historic district. Recreating the stepped parapet and replacing the corrugated roll-up doors with doors of a traditional style will help the structure fit more harmoniously with the house and street. We didn't see details of the new doors showing their material and operation. They will preferably be wood and glass, but in any event, their detailing will be critical to their success. The changes to the rear facade are modest and apparently not visible from the street. Even the doors for the trash enclosure have been thoughtfully detailed. The proposed ironwork fencing is simpler than what would have been original to the building, but it's compatible with the building's style. All in all, this is a carefully thought out, appropriate proposal. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Next up, we'll be hearing from Lucy Levine from the Historic Districts Council. Lucy Levine, I'm promoting you to panelist right now. So please unmute your line and state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Thank you.
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Lucy Levine. I'm speaking on behalf of the Historic Districts Council. HDC is happy to support this lovely and appropriate proposal. This is an excellent example of how historic structures can be sensitively altered. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. I do not see any additional hands raised, so I will note for the record that Brooklyn Community Board 6 recommends approval. And with that, I'll bring it back to you, Chair Carroll.
Would the applicant like to respond to testimony in any way?
No.
Fair enough. Commissioners, do we have any follow-up questions? No follow-up questions. Turn it back to you, Chair Carroll.
Thank you very much. All right, so let's close the hearing. We'll begin our discussion and provide the applicant with some comments today. So Commissioner Chapin, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Thank you. And Commissioner Jefferson, would you second that motion?
So second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is closed and we'll begin our discussion. We have sort of components on all sides of this building that is at the end of a row, but because it was originally built with a store and it did not have a stoop like the other buildings in the row. Building is going to be residential, and so the proposal is to create a door surround and band across the top of the ground floor windows on the front facade, and then on the side to install or create new window openings, the bay window, and to install a fence that wraps around that gets taller as you move down the side street because of the changing grade. And then finally to reconstruct the garage with a new brick garage with a stepped parapet concealing a deck behind. There's also a garbage closure nestled in between. So we'll begin our discussion. Commissioner Chu, would you like to start this one?
Sure. I think it's a sensitive proposal. I don't find that I have any issues with any of the elements being proposed. The facade originally did have a storefront in it, so it was a different use, and it has been converted to residential. They are reusing the existing opening. I don't think it's the original design. Because it wasn't that type of facade, but I do think it's working relatively well. Slight adjustment could be done, I think, there with staff at that level, but the general move seems appropriate. The addition to the side bay window element, I think, is appropriate. There's a lot of existing houses with that element. I think it won't stand out as unusual at all. And I do agree that the garage change of use and new facade is a huge improvement to what's there right now. I do have questions about it. It's not in the current set, but a couple of those garage doors are, one is, I think, outside exterior and one is not being used as a garage. Exteriors look consistent, but they do suggest different operations from the plan, so details would need to follow. Yeah.
Okay, great. And those can be provided when we come back. Commissioner Jefferson?
I think it's a well thought through project. I think there's a couple of issues for me that are still comments that I have. One has to do with the Oreo in this view. You see how close it comes to the lower window? There's no space around it. That facade, it looks like it's falling down, collapsing upon the windows. It could have more space at the bottom of it to make it feel like it's part of that facade. That's one. The second issue I have is the garage, the roof, the symmetry of the roof. There's no need for that. If you go to page 12, you see where the original building with its original straight page. There's a picture of it where the original facade, page 12, up above, page 12. Oh no, page 9, I'm sorry. Go to page 9. You see how it looks like it belongs to that, to the major mass. It's just an L shape connecting to another building. It just holds together better than making this other piece of it look like it's a whole symmetrically another building connected. And even with the little transition piece, it's not as powerful as the top image, I think. And you could see with the Oreo how close it is to that lower window. It's not enough space. And those are the one thing I really love about it is that fencing, the way the fence comes around the front and turns and the base changes, but the fence line remains. It's really a nice touch. And there's some really nice architectural elements to this project. And those are my only 2 or 3 comments.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Master?
Congratulations to the applicant for getting support from the Victorian Society and HDC. I think that's an accomplishment. I think it's a very well done application. You know, you're essentially converting something into residential, so it makes sense that you would need additional window openings. I think the Oriole window is a nice touch. But I agree. I think Everardo made a good point that the bottom of the Oriole window is touching the window below it in an awkward way. But I'm sure that's just an adjustment that they could make. I think that the ironwork alongside is lovely. It's simple and it looks straight, and they were able to accommodate the changing, I guess, the levels. I actually like the way that the garage kind of steps up. The roof line steps up and then steps down. I think it adds visual interest to it. So I like what they did with the garage. My only other comment is that the entrance enframement, I think that they could probably work with staff to refine some of the proportions and the details. But other than that, I really like what the applicant did.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Ginsburg?
I agree with my other commissioners. This is appropriate and approvable.
Okay, Commissioner Lutfi?
Just to echo some of my colleagues, I think this is a very interesting and a very well done project. And what the applicant has done here is taken this commercial property that didn't really have much of a presence and transformed it into a residential property that really anchors the corner in a very solid and attractive way. And when you look at it from various angles, you would sort of never know that it had another use. I think I love the way they handled the windows on the side of the building. It really helps convey the residential character, and there's a nice rhythm to it. I do agree that the only thing that needs some tweaking is the spacing between the oriel window and the window below it. And I also do like the way that the on the side where the garage is, that it steps up, up a little bit, because it doesn't look like so massive. It really softens it, no matter what the uses are behind the doors. And finally, and I think the fencing works. It's a wonderful visual continuum. And I do want to say these like garbage bins are very well done. It's a wonderful continuum, but I also agree with Commissioner Master that what happens here, and I think someone else mentioned this too, is that this was a commercial space. So they made use of the entry door into that space, which is kind of a narrow door. So the enfrainment, which, would normally have, in a different kind of location where there was more room, have a little more air. It seems like a little tight. And I feel like it needs a little bit of adjustment, and the applicant could definitely work with staff on that.
Thank you.
Great project.
Great. Commissioner Chapin.
Yeah, I agree with the remarks of other commissioners. I think it's a very well done project in general, and I also don't have a problem with that connector to the garage, the way it's done. And my only two issues as well are the spacing with the oriel window and the door, which is pretty good on the front, but I think they were searching for some example, and the staff might be able to help them to find one that's even more sympathetic, an enfrainment.
All right, great. Thank you very much. All right, so as I said, we don't have a quorum present at this moment in the hearing room, so we can't take an action today, but I think the consensus of the commissioners present and is to support this project. It's a very nice project and handled very well. But we'll ask that you study some of the suggestions the commissioners made about really refinements to the spacing between the bay window and the door below, and continue to find the right proportion and detail for that door surround. And we'll have you back as soon as we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll move to the next item.
The next and last item of the day, public hearing item number 7, LPC 24-08699. An application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Brooklyn, block 1065, lot 61, 839 President Street in the Park Slope Historic District. A late neo-Gothic style row house built in 1884 to 85. And the application is to construct a rooftop addition and install rooftop HVAC equipment and railings.
Hey, commissioners, the applicants have entered the hearing. Tom, I'm going to give you control of the presentation. Just make sure that you state your name for the record before you begin, and click on the screen when you are prompted to do so. Then you can advance the slides using your arrow keys or your mouse.
Okay, great. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. My name is Tom Winter, Principal Architect at TWA. We are the architects for this project at 839 President Street. And we are applying for the vertical enlargement of a penthouse for this building. This is the boundary map for the historic district. We're right here on the left side. We're just a little bit shy of the edge of the boundary. And please note that the boundary goes through the block. That becomes relevant a little bit later in the presentation. There's also other marks for reference projects. So we are 3 buildings in from the boundary of the district. This is a close-up, our building here in red. Yellow shows roof additions that are currently there. They are not, most of them were done prior to designation, but they are still physically there. And then the blue is a photovoltaic system, which we will see later. Please note that that is outside the district. These are historic photographs, tax photo from 1940, then 1980 tax photo, and photo of today's condition. So not much has changed, obviously, throughout the years. These are photographs from the back of the building, just to document that this is the back of the building. There is no work proposed in this area under this application. And this is the area of work, looking towards the street, the neighbor on the east side, and then looking towards the west, and here at the bottom looking towards the back. So it's an existing roof with a bunch of roof penetrations. Sightline analysis. This is from President Street, 6 foot high, and this cornice is very prominent, and it blocks the entire view of our proposed penthouse addition up here. So there is zero visibility from President Street. These are the photographs. Please note that these photographs were taken after the mock-up was installed. So these are to document that the mock-up is not visible from President Street. And because of the foliage, we went ahead and we just produced a render from that exact same location. And the render has the mock-up, has the penthouse in it, and you see that you don't see the penthouse. Then the same analysis, which is from 7th Avenue looking into President Street. Same thing, it's a bit difficult here with all the foliage. We're just behind here, but again, we did the same render with the penthouse in place, and you see that you don't see the penthouse. The same thing from President Street, from the other side, and we're standing on the other side of the street looking at that condition, and again, no visibility. Then we're moving to 7th Avenue. This is the view from 7th Avenue, sightline analysis. And there is a little bit of visibility from 7th Avenue. This looks worse here in the diagram than it is because the penthouse is setting back by almost 15 feet. And you will see this in the renders. Please note that we are here already outside of the historic district. So this is the actual view. It's a photo montage, and there's very, very, very marginal visibility. And we had to blow this up quite a bit, to actually show how this penthouse edition would look from there. So this is so there's a lot of distraction, visual distraction. This is the photovoltaic system that I mentioned before. It's just outside the district. But it's drawing the view quite a bit, and then there's a fire escape from the adjacent from the building in the front, which also provides like a visual barrier. Then this is the same view with the mock-up installed, just to document that this is like a proper documentation of the bulk of the penthouse. And you again see that there's very marginal visibility here. And then it's a little bit further to the right, moving over. These are air conditioning units on the top of the penthouse roof. These are existing air conditioning units, just 2 buildings over. So they are also visible. So we would be also slightly visible above here. But you see, like it's very marginal. So we zoom in a lot here. And this is another photograph that was provided by staff with a request to photomontage this without the trees. So we took the trees out, and then this is the amount of penthouse you would see if there were no trees. But in fact, the trees are there and they would actually grow and even hide the penthouse more. But just in case these trees die or somebody decides to cut them down, this would be the maximum extent of visibility. And here are just the renders of the penthouse. So this was also in place when we showed the views from the street, from President Street. We have a roof overhang here. It's south exposure, so we try to make this into a sunshade. In the back, we're stepping almost 15 feet back. There's a fiber cement panels in the back, stucco on the side wall, and a very simple railing. Here's the materials that we use: fiber cement board, the stucco finish, there's porcelain pavers, and then this is the window and the railing color, and then the gravel stop and the window head and sill color are documented here. It's all in the grayscale. These are floor plans, existing roof, proposed floor plan, and you see how far we step back from the back and how far we step back from the front. Then this is the penthouse roof plan, same thing. You see the large setback here from the back and the setback from the front. The side elevation existing and proposed at the bottom. And then from the other side, these are mock-up photographs. These were confirmed by staff. So we had a staff meeting at the site. So this is an accurate representation of our proposed penthouse. And then these are precedents. So this is on President Street. It's a pretty massive visible vertical enlargement that was obviously done prior to designation. Here's a very visible guardrail also prior to designation. And this is also in the district. We are about 2 blocks away. This is a vertical enlargement, very visible here from within the district, looking from the corner, and then this is looking from the side. So this is a very visible enlargement, and it's very close to the corner, obviously. So this is way more visible than ours. This is from an approved landmarks application, which includes this guardrail. Again, it's very close to the visibility from a public thoroughfare. This was also approved. We have a little bit of visibility of the guardrail from 7th Avenue, again, outside the district, but still you see the guardrail in our application. And just as a note, this is obviously not a buildings department compliant guardrail because it's missing all the vertical or horizontal rungs. Yeah, that concludes my presentation. Please ask any questions you may have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Jefferson?
On page 022, what's the finished floor to ceiling height of your penthouse?
Yeah, let me pull this up.
Yeah, what's the ceiling height on the
Yeah,
inside?
so we have a ceiling height. I have to revert to my project architect. We are approximately 9'6". So we have a total height here. You see this of 10'4" minus the roof structure. So that leaves us with a little bit over 9 feet, maybe 9'4".
I can't tell from the dimensions because you have the center line of the roofing flashing. So I can't tell what the dimension is. Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, let me revert to, I'll give you that answer like in 1 minute. Irene, if you could just provide that information, please.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No further questions.
Yeah, it's 9 foot. Can you
9
hear
foot.
me now?
Yes,
Yes,
thank you.
sorry.
9 foot.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any further questions in the room or on Zoom, so I'll turn to Gregory Calla to begin taking public testimony.
Thank you, Corey. If anybody would like to speak on this item, please raise your hand now. Yes, you could approach the podium.
Can you hear me? Yes, please. My name is Diana Lopez, and I reside at 841 President with my husband, Bob Begleiter. And so these comments that I have are on behalf of both of us. The proposed rooftop addition will destroy the historic architectural character of the block and permanently alter the look and feel of the neighborhood. It creates a massive bulk in the middle of the block. The height and scope of this proposed addition is out of context with the rest of the roofs. There have been no rooftop additions on the block since the area was landmarked. I just also want to note for the committee, probably aware that Community Board 6, the Landmarks Committee, did oppose this penthouse. President Street is a narrow street with narrow backyards. This large structure, adding an additional floor, is a 25% increase in the height of the brownstone. Placing such a large structure, even though it is not visible from President Street, although quite visible from 7th Avenue, will cast long shadows in all the backyards. This brownstone is on the north side of the street that is already dark. We struggle with moss growing in the backyard due to the lack of direct sunlight. The structure will have a deleterious effect even if it can't be seen on all the neighbors' urban backyard life. It will have a real effect on everyone in the neighborhood. These long shadows will further darken the backyards, reduce greenery, and adversely impact the heirloom maple and oak trees, as well as other plantings, and likely impede vegetable gardens. Today, these backyards are filled with wildlife enjoyed by all the neighbors. The wildlife includes black and gray squirrels, sparrows, cardinals, and blue jays. The neighbors and children that today enjoy their urban backyard life will be negatively affected by a darker, less sun-filled, and inviting backyard. The greenery and leafiness are part of the aesthetics of the historic district. Although this addition will allowing this addition will set a precedent that will be relied upon by future developers to undermine the neighborhood's landmark quality. Once this is done, it cannot be undone. It will change the dynamic of the neighborhood forever. My husband and I, residents of over 20 years on President Street, who raised 3 daughters here and even held our daughter's wedding in our backyard, respectfully request that you deny the requested certificate of appropriateness. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your testimony. And would anybody else like to speak on this item? Thank you so much. And if you could please state your name for the record, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Thank you.
My name is Sarah Hopkins. I am at 837 President Street since 1988. It's a family house. We enjoy it regularly. We're probably in our yard every weekend. We're on our roof regularly. It's a place we like to be. The reality is it doesn't make any sense to me why someone who's going to come in to flip a house can put a house right next to us when the only thing they're going to do is change the dynamics. I'm 4th generation Park Slope. I've seen a lot of changes in this neighborhood. I've seen a lot of people get deals put through they shouldn't have gotten done through because they got money. And unfortunately, some of the smaller people in the area get taken advantage of. They want to have access agreement to our yard and our roof so that we can't utilize it while they're building. We're still working on the access agreement, but we don't know how long it's going to take. Unfortunately, we can't talk to the owner. We can only talk to the investors. We don't have a neighbor. We have someone that's just coming in here to change the way our neighborhood looks. We've had too many different, I've heard too many different people saying penthouses are going up. I do have a question for the record. How many penthouses have permits going right now that are looking to change the whole dynamics of this neighborhood? The rudeness of the way these people do construction is ridiculous. They park their vehicles in the middle of the street. They don't care what the block does. They shut it down on their own. They've called 311 so many times on these things. We have dumpsters all over, all for private equity building new houses and buying the houses from people that can't afford to live here anymore because they keep raising our taxes. I thought this place was here to help defend us. This is supposed to be historical. I'm looking at what they're doing at 4th Avenue. I'm looking at what they do to the Gowanus. I believe our brownstones should be left alone. I believe we should have the opportunity to have a nice backyard, to have a nice roof, to be able to enjoy our neighbors. We're not here to sit there and become a flippin' total neighborhood. We're not, and we have no defense. Again, I appreciate your time. It's just blowing my mind how quickly some of these deals are getting done and how many different places are changing. And it doesn't look like we're getting a lot of representation. I do like the details that you put into your work today. I actually approved of that other one too. I like the way that it changed. I sat through their last meeting. I appreciate your time and thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your testimony. And is there one more for this item? Okay. Okay, thank you all. Okay, and I do not see any additional hands raised in the attendees list remotely, so I will note that Brooklyn Community Board 6 recommends approval for this item. And I'll bring it back to you, Chair Carroll.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask the applicant if you'd like to respond to the comments we've heard.
Yes, of course, I would like to comment, but first I wanted to apologize that I didn't have a video feed on. I didn't realize that, so I turn it on now so we can have an actual face-to-face, albeit virtual discussion. So I guess we have to sort out between the public considerations that are relevant in a landmark district, which is primarily visibility from a public thoroughfare, and issues that neighbors may have with construction in general. So I think that doesn't belong to a landmarks hearing. That's my opinion. We were very sensitive designing this penthouse. It's only 350 square feet. It's only 10'6" above existing roof elevation. So it's not a massive impact here. And it's, again, it's not visible from President Street. And I can just not follow the argument that a little penthouse with 10'6" elevation set back approximately 15 feet from the rear face of the building will kill the entire planned infrastructure of the backyards. So the visibility is marginal from outside the district. And I want to emphasize that. So there's zero visibility from inside the district, and that's exactly the way we designed it. Yeah, so with that, I give it back to the panel. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. Do we have any final questions? Commissioner Jefferson.
Why does it matter if it's visible outside the district? If it's visible, it's visible, right? What am I missing?
The commission does consider views that are from outside of the district looking in towards it. Take it for what you will. You can weigh that on your own in terms of, is it an important view or what is the impact of what you're seeing on the streetscape? So it's a little different in that it may not directly impact other designated historic buildings, but it's still seen over this building's own historic rear facade and some of its neighboring rear facades that are within the historic district.
Okay.
Okay, any other final questions?
No further questions.
Okay, let's move to our discussion on this one. Commissioner Chapin, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
You and Commissioner Chu, would you second that motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Any opposed? Okay. So the hearing is closed, and this is a proposal for a one-story rooftop addition set back from the front and the rear facades and not visible over the primary facade, but does have some visibility over the rear facade, looking over the one-story commercial buildings around the corner. And it's sort of deep within that view and partially obscured by vegetation, but there is some view of both the addition and the mechanical equipment there. So again, you know, this similar to this morning, we've heard some issues about concerns from the public about the issues that are outside of our purview. And so in this case, in particular, changing of neighborhoods and use and or occupancy of the buildings. And those are sort of market factors that are outside of our purview. We evaluate additions based on the size, scale, materials, details, design, and visibility, and whether or not they're removing any significant architectural features. And so that's how we will review this particular application. And while we do sympathize with the stresses in changing neighborhoods and construction, there are other agencies that maybe can help with the construction-related inconveniences. I know just market changes are challenging for any agency to address. So we'll begin our discussion on this. Again, we won't be voting today. Again, this addition is visible from around the corner over the rear facade. And in that view, I think you also do see the solar panel canopy, which does happen to be outside of the district, but is part of this context. So we'll begin our conversation. Commissioner Ginsburg, would you like to start this one?
Yes, this seems to me to be a reasonable proposal. It isn't visible from the street. It is a small addition that is significantly set back from both the front and rear facades. It is slightly viewable, particularly when the trees are not in bloom, from the rear, across 7th Avenue, but very minor, and I don't feel a problem, so I find this appropriate.
Thank you. Commissioner Chapin?
Yeah, I agree. Also, that solar panel display, which is so large, is gonna, call attention to itself and distract from anything else. But, this is actually a fairly modest, and while there aren't a lot of accretions that we've approved here, it is a fairly modest addition, and I don't think it's got a lot of visibility. And while we don't govern light and air, it's sort of confusing as to why the residents would think it might affect light and air. Maybe other things are, and other construction is a problem for them. And as you say, there are other agencies that hopefully could assist with those problems, because those aren't great. But I don't see why this should really materially contribute negatively to the district. And it's, I think it's a nice design and modest, so I could approve it.
Thank you. Commissioner Lutfi?
Excuse me. The
Yes.
applicant has done a very good job in trying to design an addition that is modest in a slightly difficult view corridor. They've done a great job of making sure that there's no visibility on President Street. But there's absolutely no way to get around the view corridor on 7th Avenue. I mean, this has been, this low rise commercial has been here forever. And in a way, it's a little different, but in a way, it kind of reminds me of, some of the issues we had to think about when we were looking at development in the rear of 7th Avenue South. There's just visibility there. Now, that said, I think that they've done a good job of trying to minimize it. They've used, black on the railing so it can sort of disappear. And I think the color they've selected for the facade of the addition also works well and can blend. And it certainly is not, because it's set a little further back into the street, moving toward 8th Avenue. It's certainly not as visible as a solar panel is. So I think this works.
Thank you, Commissioner Chu.
Yeah, I agree with my fellow commissioners. I don't really have anything else to add. I think it's modest. And we've approved other rooftop additions with this minimal visibility from the rear.
Yeah, and that's a good point, I think, also for the public to hear that we, when we do look at visibility and we address the sort of the hierarchy of views, we are most concerned about views over the primary facade. But as you move around the building, we are a little more flexible and have found additions that happen to be slightly or somewhat visible over secondary or rear facades to be appropriate in exactly this type of block where you can look into the rear yard. So it is consistent with our approach elsewhere. Commissioner Jefferson?
I agree with my fellow commissioners that I think the gray color and the materials he used, he tried his best.
All right, so I think we have a consensus to support this.
Commissioner Master.
Oh, Commissioner Master, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a very modest proposal setback. And I would have to say, not only is it not visible from the primary facade, but even the visibility from the rear facade is really minimal. So I think it's appropriate.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And I apologize for missing you. It's hard when you're not facing people at the table. So again, we can't take an action today, but we do I think, have a consensus to support this, so we can recommend that to the commission at a future date when we have all of our commissioners, when we have a quorum present in the hearing room. I think while I do sympathize with the neighbors who have concerns about changes in their neighborhood, I hope that some of the issues that you have about construction related issues or light and air can be addressed through other agencies. And unfortunately, we're probably not the right place as a modest rooftop addition is something that the commission does routinely approve when not visible over a primary facade and partially visible over a secondary facade. So we'll have you back as soon as we're ready, and I do hope that your client will be a good neighbor and take some of the community's concerns into consideration as they do the work. So that concludes our public hearing today, June 25th, 2024. Thank you all. Thank you, commissioners, for being there in person and carrying the load there. And thank you, staff, for also picking up and carrying the load in my absence, in my in-person absence. And we won't have a hearing next week, but we will see everybody on July 9th. So thank you all very much and have a great July 4th week. Thanks.